You still have your house. Your car is in the driveway. Your phone works. Netflix is on. Everything looks fine. But what if I told you that the house, the car, the phone, and the dollar in your pocket are all part of a system that's been cracking for 20 years? And you were never supposed to notice. Before this video ends, you'll understand why the products you bought at Walmart for the last 30 years were never really cheap. Someone was paying the real price. It was you. You just didn't know it yet. In 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization. Washington celebrated. Wall Street celebrated. American consumers celebrated. Goods got cheaper. Shelves got fuller. Life felt easier. Nobody asked the obvious question: why would the world's most ambitious nation sell you things at a loss? Nobody asked. Nobody wanted to know. And that was the plan. Fast forward to 2006. A quiet man in Moscow walked onto a stage in Munich, Germany. His name was Vladimir Putin. He looked at the room full of Western leaders and said something no one wanted to hear. The United States has overstepped its borders in every way. The room shifted uncomfortably. Most leaders dismissed it. The media called it theater. But it wasn't theater. It was a declaration, not of war, of something far more dangerous. A declaration of patience. Because, while America spent the next 15 years fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, while Democrats and Republicans screamed at each other on television every night, while Americans scrolled, consumed, and argued about everything except what actually mattered, two men in Beijing and Moscow were building something, quietly, methodically, without a single shot fired. Here's what they built. China became the world's factory, not because it was natural, because it was engineered. They priced products below cost. They flooded American markets. They made your factories close, one by one. Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Gary. Entire cities hollowed out. 30 million manufacturing jobs disappeared. And Americans were told, that's just globalization. That's progress. Progress. Meanwhile, China took the dollars it earned from selling you cheap goods and bought something more valuable than products. Infrastructure. Ports. Energy grids. Technology. Influence. Today, two Chinese state-owned companies control 12.6% of global port throughput. They operate ports on both ends of the Panama Canal. They're building the largest port terminal in South America, at the port of Santos, Brazil, to ship soybeans directly to China, bypassing American agribusiness. Permanently. No war. No treaty. No announcement. Just business. Now let's make this personal. If you're an average American in 2026, here's your reality. You need to earn $121,400 a year to afford a typical home. The average American earns $84,000. Home prices are up 45% since 2020. 1/3 of the middle class can't afford basic necessities. Healthcare premiums are hitting historic highs. Your household is paying an extra $2,512 this year, just in tariffs on imported goods. Oh, and gas is approaching. For a gallon, Harris. Because a war in Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. You feel it. Every week at the grocery store. Every month when the bills come. But here's what nobody on TV is telling you. This didn't happen in 1 year. This didn't happen because of one president. This took 45 years to build. The Congressional Budget Office confirmed it in January 2026. The American middle class has been steadily losing ground for nearly 5 decades, while the top 1% doubled their share of national wealth. And you were busy. Busy watching the game. Busy arguing on social media. Busy choosing your team. Red or blue. Republican or Democrat. The best slave is the one who doesn't know he's a slave. But here's where the story gets darker. Because everything we just talked about, that's just the part they let you see. What they don't talk about on CNN, what they don't talk about on Fox News, is what's happening to the dollar itself. In 1974, the United States made a secret deal with Saudi Arabia. Simple agreement. Oil gets priced in dollars. Only dollars. Forever. In exchange, America protects the Saudi regime. That deal created the Petrodollar system. And the Petrodollar system is why America could print money, run up debt, fight wars, and still dominate the global economy. Because everyone on Earth needed dollars to buy oil. That was the real power. Not the military, not the economy. The currency. Now look at what's happening. China and Russia have been building an alternative system since 2014, the year America sanctioned Russia after Crimea. That was the moment Moscow and Beijing understood. If they can freeze our dollars, the dollar is a weapon against us. So they built an exit. The BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now a dozen more countries, began settling trade in fortits, local currencies, in fidi, yuans, in rubles, in anything but dollars. By 2026, 30% of Russia's trade is already in yuan. Iran, the country sitting on the Strait of Hormuz, is selling oil to China. Not in dollars. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway where 20% of the world's oil passes through every single day. Blocked. By a country that no longer uses your currency. And here's the brutal math that Washington doesn't want to say out loud. The United States has on 39,914 trillion in national debt. It pays $1 billion in interest every single day. That debt only works as long as the world believes in the dollar. The moment the world stops believing, the bill comes due. All of it. At once. So what happens next? 2 possible roads. Road 1. The war in Iran ends quickly. The Strait of Hormuz reopens. Oil prices stabilize. America declares victory. But the underlying system is still broken. The debt is still there. The BRICS are still building. The yuan is still expanding. The house looks fine from outside, but the foundation is still cracking. Road 2. The war drags on. Oil stays above $100. Inflation comes back hard. The Fed raises rates. With $39 trillion in debt, every rate increase costs America hundreds of billions more per year. Countries holding U.S. Treasury bonds start selling. The dollar weakens. Prices rise further. The middle class, already stretched to the limit, starts breaking. Not all at once. Slowly. The way it's been happening for 45 years. Only faster now? Here's what this really is. This isn't a Republican story. This isn't a Democrat story. This is the story of how the most powerful nation in history got outmaneuvered not on a battlefield, but in a boardroom. Not with missiles, but with infrastructure, patience, and debt traps. While Americans were divided, fighting each other about culture, identity, and politics, 2 countries decided to simply wait and build and buy and position. Until one day, the average American would wake up unable to afford a house, paying record prices for gas, buying goods made in the country that replaced their job, and still not understand why. Because the best slave is the one who doesn't know he's a slave. The question isn't whether this is happening. The data is clear. The numbers are public. The ports, the pipelines, the currencies, all documented. The real question is simpler and harder. When the system that built your life stops working, what did you actually own? The war isn't coming. It already started. You just weren't watching.